going to be doing today is having a look at these subwoofers. I have not done a review of these yet, but I got them in the shop a few weeks ago, and I've been on and off sick ever since, right? Like, got a cold, got the flu, got all kind of stuff. So now it's getting a bit better. So got to get back up on that horse, right? And what's going to happen now is I'm going to basically install the wheels first on these. And then we have another task in the warehouse, which is installing some sort of temporary lights because I don't have any lights in there now. All right, so we are using a subwoofer as a table here, just so I can demonstrate the problem. So in this box, I have official RCF wheels. They probably don't make them, but they do sell them, and I'm sure they know best. In this one, we have an alternative, which is quite a bit cheaper, I would say. Actually, I need to put on my gloves because I have a habit of being very unfortunate. I have this, my superpower is that I can cut myself, burn myself, or hurt myself in basically any scenario. So I try to always wear gloves because I know that, you know, even just paper cuts, right? I get cut everywhere. So it's best to just take precautions. And I do also wear a hat, sometimes even a hard hat, when I'm out doing stuff, because I will hit my head on anything. So basically what I did was I ordered some new wheels, and the reason I did that obviously I need some wheels to be able to move this stuff around. But another reason why I did that was I originally ordered, and I have 6 of these, because they were supposed to be used for the same purpose. But the problem that I realized with these cheaper wheels, and I talked to, what's his name? Actually, I forgot his name, but Stage Left Audio kind of helped me out a little bit on this. I had a problem where they would vibrate a lot and rattle when the subwoofers were powered on, and it was getting to a point where people actually thought that there was something wrong with the speaker itself, right? And the speaker itself is fine. Like, if it was blown, it wouldn't play at all. But I had customers tell me that once they turned it up, they were actually afraid that something would break because it sounded like something was, you know, breaking inside of it. And then I told the customer that they should try and just tape using some duct tape or something, tape the wheels, and maybe they'll solve it. And it took away a lot of that rattle, and that just kind of confirmed it to me, and I tested it here as well, and it's very clear. And the problem is that these cheaper wheels, they have a lot of play in where the wheel bearings sit, and that's obviously a problem. So these ones here have a little bit of rattle. Obviously, it's not too bad. Like, it depends a little bit. Some of these are worse than others. This one is not too bad. But I talked to Stage Left Audio, and he recommended me to just contact the supplier. And I talked to RCF, and they gave me these. And it has I would say, obviously, you can see the ring. So the ring, it's a bit dark here, but the ring around this one is a lot thicker than the ring around this one. This tiny little gray ring, this slightly bigger red one. I'm not sure if that has anything to do with it. It also seems like there is a difference in the way if we can get this to focus on it. Maybe it's a bit too close. Anyway, but there is a difference in how these look underneath, and it seems like the yellow one is definitely, like, it even has a way to tighten it, whereas this one has a rivet and this one has a nut, so you can kind of tighten them later depending on, I guess, how much play you want. So there are some advantages to this one, I would assume, and I bought 4 cases that you see me load up in the beginning of this video, and I am going to install them on these subwoofers like so, and then my hope is that that will solve the problem of the rattling sound. let's get to that now, and then I'm not sure if I'm going to speed through this or if I'm just going to be talking and rambling. But you know, maybe I'll be talking. The wheels from RCF does come with screws, which is awesome. These subwoofers does have screws on them, so but probably these wheels are for a lot of different products. And it also has a now broken piece of information sheet. I'm sure there's some useful stuff. Oh my god, anyway. And the funny part is, right, it's like you always have a lot of ones that are just a little bit too big or just too small. I think I found it. That is the one, so let's get this on. Highly recommend that you guys, even when you're just working with power tools, that you bring some earplugs or ear protection of some sort. Because, you know, even though you wouldn't think, I have these single-use ones for now, you wouldn't think that some of these, you know, tools are very loud. But I did see a reading on the Jesus Christ. I did see a reading on one of the ones that are meant for like an impact wrench kind of thing, and it gets like 94, 100 dB, and it's right next to your face, right? It's pretty loud, so make sure to wear some protection. Even just basic ones, like just getting a little bit on there helps a lot. Okay. There we go. So, I will readjust the camera angle. And how I like to put these on is this here is the top. And what I like to do is put the ones with the lock. Because you can see here that these ones don't have the lock. There's no lock on this. So what I like to do is put the ones with the lock on the top. So these two holes here. And the reason for that is when you're when you want to turn it around and flip it back on the wheels, if you are using the ones with the lock, actually none of these have the lock. That's interesting. I did not notice that. Maybe that's not a big deal, because I always secure them in other ways. I don't really trust the lock when I'm transporting them either, so maybe that's okay. But just to demonstrate here, I took this one out. So with this one, if you have the lock one at the top, when you are using it and you want to flip it around, this piece will not kind of get in the way. But if it's at the bottom and you are lifting it and you want to flip it around, this one here might contact the floor, right? Because it's going to be pushing out a little bit, as you can see here. So when you're flipping it, this one will be resting on the floor like that, and you might scratch the floor. So I always put the ones with the lock at the top, where there's lower risk of scratching the floor. This one is not a big problem though. And then when you flip it around, you want to use it, and you have it, then you just put it up on the side. These one will twist, and then you're basically good to go. So that is the idea. And now we just put the screw through, put this on the other direction. You know, I always wonder when I'm using a screwdriver like this, whether or not the numbers on this actually matters. Like, is there a scale or something that says, you know, if I'm tightening at 18 as an example, is there some place where it says that is equal to a certain amount of torque or something like that? Just think that's an interesting thing. It's like I've always seen it, and like, you know, obviously when you move down the line, I should say, move to a lower number, it triggers the gears to you know, not tighten as much. But you know, it does make you wonder if there is a certain standard or something that they are expected to adhere to when producing these. Like, does 18 mean 18 pound-foot of torque, or is it 18 newton meters? Is it 20? Or is the scale like, you know, a logarithmic? So it doesn't, you know, lower numbers are more accurate. This is the first one done. And I also got these covers, official RCF covers. And I have 4 of these for 4 of subwoofers. I'll put this away for now. And these ones are heavy. It's not like heavy enough that you can't move them on your own. But obviously having another person is recommended. And it's always good to have someone else be present. Having 2 people to lift these is recommended. I would suggest. I think they're like, I actually forgot how much they weigh, but I think it's around 40 kilos, something like that. 40, 50 kilos. I'm pretty used to that weight, lifting that amount. But like I said in the beginning, it's always best to stay safe. I keep looking at the camera. I need to fix that. I keep looking up. All right. So, how I find that this is easiest to flip around is right now I have them on a dolly, but because they always, you know, they have to kind of go on this edge, I find that putting the cover down like that kind of helps it from scratching, and flipping it on my own is simpler because the wheels tend not to want to move when it's on this kind of soft carpet-like thing, which is nice. And as you can see, these are brand new, still have the protective cover. Not very satisfying to remove, but it's there. There you go. Some people like that. After you unbox a lot of stuff, you tend not to have the same effect. And I like to put the zipper upward so that the face that is like that doesn't have the zipper is down. And the reason for that is when I transport these, sometimes customers will put them down, and then to avoid them, like I want to have them standing on their feet in the right orientation. That way it's easier just to say the one with the logo should be facing up. So that was the first one done. And now we have a nice and well protected speaker. So now we have another one, another one, and then we have F3. And things move quicker like this when you need to do a lot of stuff of the same task. It's always in the planning and in the preparation. It's in the preparation that you will see the most benefit. So when you need to do a lot of the same, line it up, do a factory line thing. So this one has the blue version on it, the one that was rattling, the one that the client complained about. It's this one. And I don't like it would be very odd to me if it's actually blown. Like I test everything every time it goes out and every time it comes back. I always test everything. I always listen to it. I always make sure that it's working, and I actually sometimes I also test it with the client. So if someone has to, if someone is renting something, I try to always test it while the client is present. And testing while the client is there, at least for stuff, stuff like this that actually is meant to be, I wouldn't say abused, obviously nothing's meant to be abused, but it's meant to play loud. And I don't want there to be any sort of discussion if something were to break. So when people come and rent very expensive gear, I always try to make sure that we test it while they are here. It's not always a possibility, but for some things it is. Let me take this first. And actually one of them had a small chip in the paint. If I have enough battery on this camera, maybe I'll show you that, fixing that. One thing that is annoying me a little bit was this crooked logo. Really easy to fix. Okay, so now it's on the wheels. And you can see that if I were to, actually maybe I will flip this one down a tad bit. So what you can see here, that when I flip this around on this face, and because I'm alone, it will hit the concrete on this face. And if you do that a lot of times, it's going to get worn out. And I've seen, I think it's also Stage Left Audio. They have made some wooden boards to put these on when it's out in the field. And that does help a little bit. But for me, in this case, I have to flip it down on this one because I want to be able to move it around. And that's where I tend to just use these and collapse it down, put it like that, and then flip it around. And then now you can see that it doesn't really hit the, I don't know, it's very well balanced, as all things should be. Got a Thanos reference there for you. Now, this is the only problem with doing like this, right? But usually I do like this. Ooh, got caught. Oh, see, that was probably my fault. But and you can actually see the problem here, right? It's that it's now made. And I'm gonna try not to cut that out, but you can see the problem. And this here, right now, it's not too bad. But every time you see and you do this and you're alone, you will slowly wear off some of that paint. And you expect these to last a long time. And you can see actually this one has a little bit of a scuff already. And so I have some durable paint laying around that we might try and use. And then you should be able to roll this off. So, and you might say that then I'm wearing this down and it's getting all dirty, but that's what it's meant for. It's meant to be used. And honestly, I would much rather pay for a new cover than to buy a new, very expensive speaker. Nice and dirty shoes. Working in audio, you'll learn to appreciate that. I think you can tell a lot about a person by the look of their shoes. Wasn't it Forrest Gump who said that to begin with? Forrest Gump. You can learn a lot by looking at a man's shoes. Where he's been, where he's going. What I'm gonna do now is unscrew all these. This one is on the other way, but the premise is the same. Put this one down, squeeze it down a bit, put it underneath, roll this one out, flip it around, you see a catch, flip it, and now you just roll it off. This speaker here has a little bit of a scuff here, and there are multiple ways of fixing that. But what I'm going to be showing today is just how I found this one here, which is called a Herculiner, and it has a special roller that you can also use if you want to cover like a large area. But this can is, as you can see, it's pretty dented, so I don't actually, if I open this up fully, I have no way of closing it, it doesn't seem like. So I also have a normal-ish wood type of paint here, which is just black. But for this one here, because it's like a durable finish, I want to try as much as possible to use this one to fix. Now I have some on this paintbrush, and it's good to keep a rag under it. And then I will apply Just a very small amount. And don't worry too much about matching that texture, to be honest. The most important part is that you keep the wood from getting into contact with any sort of moisture, really. And then what you can do is take this rag. It would be better if you had one that was not any sort of filth. And then dip a little bit, like just very lightly. And that gives it sort of the same texture. When it's dry, you will barely see it. All right, and now we're gonna be installing some lights. Thank you so much for watching. This is the first of hopefully many episodes. I'll see you later. Finger guns. Ooh.